Hello, Chad. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. You're all here, probably, as much as I can tell. Yeah, it looks like you're here. Welcome to the stream. Happy Thursday. We haven't seen you since last Thursday. That's true. I was actually supposed to stream yesterday. I haven't even streamed since last Thursday. But yeah, what's up? Welcome back. It's Real Good Thursday. If you don't know what that is, you've really been missing out. But Thursdays, I do this stream where I'm streaming on my channels, but I'm also streaming on twitch.tv/realgoodai and the YouTube and the TikTok. Maybe. Seems to be kind of broken at the moment. But Real Good AI is a nonprofit co-founded by Mark Plyer, and Mandy, my wife, Mandy. Mark is the funding, and Mandy is in charge of the rest of it. And it is a science-first research organization focused on ethical AI and more specifically developing the methods and the research that will be necessary to have AI, because it seems like we're going to have it whether we want it or not, but have a version of it in the future that is interpretable and good for humanity, and hopefully less power hungry, less data hungry, all these things. But like, it's complicated, you know? And I'm not a good person to explain to you about those details, but if you are pro AI, welcome, join the conversation. If you are anti AI, please stay and join the conversation. It's probably actually more important that you're here, because we are not just putting out some new chatbot and trying to monetize it. We are trying to fix. If you see problems with AI, which I imagine you probably do, everyone sees some kind of problem with it. We are trying to help with that. Whatever your problem is, what we're doing will probably impact it. We're not doing everything. We're not doing political lobbying or any of that nonsense, but we're doing the science. By we, I mean everyone but me on this call. Today's call is going to be sort of in celebration of, it's coming to an end now, but March is it International Women's Month or National Women's Month? It's international, right? It's Women's Month.
I think it's international. Yeah.
And we have a lot of women who work at our organization, and today we're going to be talking, well, they'll probably mostly be talking to each other, really, but you are going to hear a conversation from 3 women who all are scientists, 2 of whom have a PhD, and 1 of whom will have one very soon, which is stressful, but is exciting. And yeah, so Mandy's here, you know Mandy, and Imen is here. You probably know Dr. Imen Gomeri. She has been on many streams. She has interviewed many of our people before, but she is going to be talking, and also our summer student turned soon to be postdoc, once she is actually postdoc. Maylene is here, and yeah, this is sort of a thing I have no personal experience with, having been a man my whole life, but welcome to the stream. I'm gonna play Pokopia. So if you like Pokemon or Animal Crossing, this is both of those things. And they're going to talk about their experiences as women in the science and women in the research and all the stuff that they've done. So I guess, Imen, you're kind of leading this. If you want to take it over.
For sure. Hi, everyone. I thought maybe we can give you some background about who we are and what we've done. And then please put your questions in the chat, and we'll try to answer it continuously. So my name is Dr. Imen Gomeri. I have a PhD from Princeton University in mechanical aerospace engineering. My specialty is fusion, so nuclear fusion, plasma physics. And throughout my career, I did mostly academia. So I did a postdoc and then a national lab, and I joined now Real Good AI. Mandy, you want to give us?
Sure. I'm Dr. Mandy Muyskerm. I have a PhD in statistics from North Carolina State University, which is one of the biggest, I actually think it is the biggest statistics department in the country for PhDs. And the cool thing about that department actually is it was started by Gertrude Cox, who was a very famous woman in statistics. from a long time ago, before that was really even a thing. And we still do all sorts of things like Box Cox transformation and things like that she contributed to the field. And she started that group, which is part of the reason I wanted to go there, because I liked that history. And the person I actually worked with while I was there was also a woman. My advisor was Dr. Monsi Fuentes, who now is like the head of a whole university somewhere. I can't even remember which one. She moved so many times. But powerful women in STEM and in STEAM from that in the history. So after I finished my PhD in statistics, I went to a national lab for a while where I met Dr. Amen, and then we started this organization, Real Good AI.
Maylene?
Hi, everyone. I'm currently a PhD candidate at Cornell University in the Applied Math PhD program, planning to graduate this May and officially be Dr. Cortez Rodriguez after my defense in early May. I got an undergraduate degree in mathematics from California State University, Channel Islands, and was so incredibly lucky to have a lot of women mathematicians to look up to and be mentored by at my undergrad institution, and through also summer research experiences and lots of cool stuff like that. I give a lot of credit to my undergraduate mentor. She helped me figure out so many things, and I don't feel like I would be where I am today without her support. So I think it's a great example, also why I'm excited to give back and mentor other women who aspire to be mathematicians, either at the PhD research level or in other ways too. There's definitely a lot you can do with these like STEM and STEAM degrees beyond just PhD level research. But that's the path that the three of us here on this call have taken.
Yeah, we pushed it to the
And I guess my expertise is in causal inference, so I would describe that as like the science of causality.
Cool. So from what we are talking, we obviously had a lot of mentors, female mentors. So let's back up a little bit and start about the beginning, like elementary school, kids, childhood. What was your what was your aha moment that kind of pushed you to take the mathematics or STEM or science path since the beginning? Or did you think from the beginning that you would be a scientist? So how was your when did you make this decision, I guess?
Sure. I guess I can go first to give Maylene some more time to think. So for me, it was never a thing I really thought about at all. Actually, up until when I was going to my undergrad in college, I was going to be a music major, a clarinet performance major. And actually, I did. I double majored in music performance and math. Actually, I got a perfect score on my math, whatever the ACT. And so the math department was like, hey, if you want to add a math major, we'll give you some scholarship money. And I was like, sure, you know what? That sounds good. I was interested in that anyway. And so then I added it. And as I was going along in my music and math, I just found myself to be more drawn to the math because there was a lot more that I could do with the research and exploring like the intersections of the things that I was actually interested in. Like, so there was a program at my university and my undergrad where they gave certain fellowships to senior undergrads that they could do like capstone projects, even though it's kind of unusual, I guess, to do that for your undergrad. And I modeled with math the music of Bach's chorales, which is like 4-part, like think like church music sort of things. They're immensely famous, and there were a lot of contemporaries that were writing similar music at the same time. And so my point was to sort of tell mathematically, if there was anything to his writing that we could distinguish in patterns that was very different from his contemporaries, like what made it famous. And actually what I found was he broke the rules more, right? So everyone else played by these music theory rules, and everything was beautiful and perfect and chordal, and so like these 3-part harmonies, everything sounded right when you did it. But actually, what made Bach's music so special is he went outside those bounds and broke them a little bit. And so anyway, I was able to really join these two through math with music. And that's what drove me to do grad school. I never wanted to have a glass ceiling above me, so that's why I pursued research. But before college, I hadn't honestly thought about being a researcher at all.
Interesting.
My family's all musicians, so it was weird.
So for my part, I think like science, math, and physics were the only subject where it was easier for me, and I kind of like I was not good with memorizing things, so I loved math because like you can find your way back like without learning like by heart, like poems and things like that. And so I don't know, my weakness was more like in social studies and history and things like that. I always like had to learn it hard, like memorize it and take some time. And math was easier for me. Physics, I loved it even more because like I used math in order to solve physics. So I was like that. The funny thing that I noticed, and I'm sure you noticed as well, is that throughout like elementary school, middle school, and high school, like the best students in math and STEM, like in biology, physics, or chemistry or math, in my example, in my life, it was always women. Like we had a lot of women who were doing great and like acing all this. But starting like after high school, it kind of like has a drop. I don't know why, but like great women, female like student who were like great, like even better than me in some cases, did not take the more technical undergrad. Like most of them went to more like biology kind of fields, but like physics and math or engineering, it was like a very low female rate there. So I never understood. I mean, I kind of understood why. It wasn't attractive enough, I guess. There is not enough like push from the school for more. There was like some programs, but again, in my high school, like there was no robotic club or something like this, or computer club or something that kind of showed that. We had only like, it was like low means high school, but I remember there was not a lot of push for female to kind of push them to go into STEM. They were like very competent, but it wasn't really, it's not like not good, but I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, we didn't.
Well, we can talk about that retention problem maybe at more detail. I want to give Maylene a chance to talk about her becoming a scientist too.
Yeah, go ahead, Maylene. So what brought you?
Sure. My path was a little more similar to Mandy's in that I was not planning to pursue any STEM degree, and I did not even know what research was. When I started college, I was a sociology major and I wanted to be a social worker. But I always loved math and science. I don't know. I never pictured myself as a scientist, and I had no idea what a mathematician even was. Like, what does it mean to do math? To you just solving for X all the time? Is that what, like, I could do that. It was fun for me even. I would even do extra math homework in high school just for fun. So I should have known that I would become a mathematician, but in my mind, it wasn't like a career path. I didn't know what that meant, except in the context of like K through 12 education. I'm thinking back, I did have a lot of teachers in middle, elementary, and high school that, like, my math teachers were women. Not all of them,
Yeah.
but a lot of them were. And
Some of
so,
them.
but I knew that I didn't want to teach high school math. And so I figured, well, if I'm not going to teach high school math, then like, what am I going to do? I'm obviously not going to do math. And other STEM things, I don't know, I just didn't think of it, I guess. It didn't occur to me. But
Did you
then
have,
in my, uh-huh.
yeah, did you have a lot of women students who wanted to, or had an idea of what they wanted to do? I'm talking like high school, like end of high school, applying for colleges.
My friends, I had a friend who wanted to, I think, pursue maybe biology, and she's a psychologist now. And a friend who wanted to pursue nursing, and she's in med school now. But and yeah, I had some friends who were like interested in med school, but I don't know if any of my friends were talking about wanting to be scientists. So I didn't have that. And then in my first couple years of college, I took some math classes, and some of my professors encouraged me to pursue the math major because they saw how well I was doing and I seemed to be enjoying it. And eventually I ended up switching to the math major, met this amazing woman professor in the department who helped me understand what like different careers could look like, because I said, I don't want to teach high school math, so like, what do I do? And so she helped me kind of figure out what are the options and how to get there. And now I'm here graduating from a PhD program, which is just wild, because if you had told me that when I was graduating high school, I would have laughed. I would have thought that was not believable.
So about the mentorship, we kind of touched base on that, but I want to highlight that. Who was or who were like your mentors throughout this like career path through college? Like who played like a very important role in like your thinking and decision for this career? And were they male or female? Because sometimes mentor can be male, and they can be
They
like.
can be both.
What I'm saying is like you do need representation for sure, but you do need also allies from male who kind of like encourage you and push you as well. So it doesn't have to be only female.
Definitely the most important mentor for me at my undergrad was my linear algebra teacher. I took a few classes with her, and she was just someone she was also an academic advisor for the major, and she helped me plan also like my degree and just a lot of things. She took a lot of time and care in a way that she totally didn't need to. Like, she would sit down with me over coffee and go over these things and help me figure stuff out, because I was sort of figuring it out on my own in a lot of ways. And it was a lot easier with someone who was like in the know. She was really important because she helped me find my first research experience. She wrote me recommendation letters. She helped me. She even actually, I wouldn't have come to Cornell University if it wasn't for her, because she's the one who encouraged me to apply to this program. And then I still wasn't going to apply, but she called me on the phone like 3 days before the application deadline was due, because she hadn't seen me request a recommendation letter for that program. And she was like, why haven't I seen the request? You're applying, right? And I was like, no, I'm not even going to get in. Why would I apply? And she said, just apply. And now I'm graduating from the program. So she was pivotal for me. And then right now, my PhD advisor, she's also a woman. She's amazing. And I chose her in part because of that, because I thought that was important. And when we first met, she was tenured track. That's academic speak for still early career, and she had a lot of time to invest in her students, and that like to give them a lot of one-on-one support, like working together, which is not always the case in a PhD. Sometimes you are not given as much support from your advisor, or support can vary, but the point was that the support she was able to offer me was what I needed, and it was really important that she was able to give me that support, and also she also recognized me as a whole human being, because I've struggled a lot in grad school, and if she hadn't been as kind and understanding as she was, then I'm not sure I would still be in this program. So definitely shout out to her for that.
What about you, Mandy?
So I'm thinking about this, and I don't know how to approach this tactfully, so I guess I'll be honest to everyone, and maybe this will resonate with someone. I sort of, no disrespect to anyone who has helped me along my way, but I've sort of fallen through the cracks repeatedly in terms of mentorship. So like in my undergrad, for example, I was a double major. So I was mostly in the music building, and I was occasionally in the math build, like to do the exact classes I needed to graduate. And that was it, because I did 2 completely separate degrees in 4 years. So I'd had people who I worked with there. I don't think, other than getting hooked up with, there used to be this NSF, which is National Science Foundation funded institute called STAMSI, Statistical and Applied Math Sciences Institute or something. It doesn't exist anymore because NSF pulled the funding, which is super unfortunate. So they used to do this thing where every year they had like a different theme, and they would like bring undergrads in to do like a workshop, and they would have a graduate degree or a graduate workshop, and they'd also have like working groups for professionals to work on whatever important topic that they were in. Anyway, I participated in the climate one when I was in my PhD, but I got hooked up with them. And getting hooked up with that organization was probably the best thing that happened to me, because that's what convinced me to go to grad school. It wasn't anyone in particular, but it was this like workshop that I applied to and went to. But then in graduate school, my first advisor was Dr. Mency Fuentes, and then she moved on, left me with another advisor. He went to Cornell, and then in my postdoc even, I was going to start with this woman I had picked out to be my mentor, and she left the organization the week before I started, so I was orphaned immediately. So I guess I've had to do a lot of it on my own, which in my PhD defense, actually, my second advisor had said, you got so good at answering questions. Must be because you had to do it all on your own. And I was like, cool, thanks. That's what you want to hear. I mean, it was meant as a compliment, but I was like, okay, but like, why weren't you there for me more then? Like, if you realized that was an issue. So I really did get passed off or looked over, fell through the cracks a lot of it, but I don't think that was negative on my path, though. I think people do see me a lot, and they see what I'm doing, and they're like, oh, she has it all handled. Just a quick reminder, even if people feel look like they have it all together, sometimes lending a hand is helpful. And so even if you don't get the proper support, I do think it is possible to do it. And I guess maybe then I go overboard trying to help people then, because I have had this experience that I've been alone. So
I had a similar kind of situation. So my undergrad was in mathematics as well. And again, I went from high school last year, where we are like 50-50 male-female, to an engineer school for undergrad in mathematics, applied mathematics, where we were like, I think from 60 students, like 6 girls only, and the rest male. So very few. Almost all of our professors were male, and I kind of like didn't have that much support. In fact, like I remember, it wasn't like. It wasn't only not having support, it was like kind of like buried, not like kind of, I guess felt like feeling like maybe I don't belong. So I continued, but I remember, so during my undergrad, we had to do internships. And again, you have to find a professor who would like support your project. You have to build up a project and go do an internship. And during that time, there's like a lot of people rely on last year people who did their internship to kind of like, find the same thing, because it worked for them, it would work for you. And I remember I was looking for like something international, something like far away, something like new. And I was going to various my applied mathematics professors, and telling them like, oh, I want to do this or this. And like I had male professor looking at me and telling me in my face that I was not like, this idea is too high out of my league, and that it would be useless of my time, because it was like, and the project actually was doing an internship in a university, and more precisely Princeton University. And again, before that I was in France for my undergrad, so I didn't know what was Princeton. But I remember going to my professor and telling him to write me a reference letter, because they were asking like, who is this woman and why she wants to come do an internship or something. And he was saying like, Princeton is out of your league. Like, you're not even the valedictorian of your school. Why you think that they would get interested into having you? And I was telling him like, I'm not going to apply for Princeton. I'm going to just do an internship. Like, I'm a free student going to have an experience of like being in a research laboratory. And I wanted to just have you validate whatever my skills, basically. And I remember this guy telling me exactly like these words, saying like, I have helped a male engineer going to UC Santa Barbara or something 2 years ago, and it was like, or MIT, whatever, but it was like so complicated because they needed like paperwork, and they needed like to make sure that he was like one of the best student. And he said like, I did it once, I'm not going to do it twice, so like it's not worth it. So I had a lot of discouragement, I have to say. So it was kind of like hard, because like, again, I was like on my own, and like you, I didn't have that much support. I have to say that in the other hand, like I had male professors at universities. It was like I had one in University of Toronto, because I was like emailing to have internships. And it's kind of like what most of people who are living like abroad do in order to get like an experience of like labs and universities, in order to, during your undergrad, to kind of like, have more experience in research, especially if you want to go to a PhD program. And these professors like saw what my skills and my resume, and I guess like what I did, and they really liked it and supported me, and even helped me to get an internship. So it's kind of like, yeah, you have to really try hard, I guess. From what I see and what you do, you have to believe in yourself, which is very hard, because like, you are a nobody going to this like jungle of like institutions and things like that, and you have to try to find a spot for yourself. So you have to believe in yourself and work hard to prove yourself. So yeah, it was like a lot of like good experience and bad experience. I have to say that it was like this. So you talked about also you felt abandoned also during like postdoc. I felt abandoned during my internship as well. Again, we're talking about, like, again, no shade on anyone, but I remember going into this internship, having like a project, and I was like a female student, and in my office they had a male student, and I remember when the same professor who supported me giving me like a problem, a mathematical problem, and I was like struggling to try to find a way of solving it numerically, whatever. And I couldn't. It was hard, and I tried. And I remember again another time where this person came and told me, just ask him. Maybe he would know better. And I was kind of shocked internally, but I was like not showing it. I said like, yes, I asked him and he doesn't know either. So, it's always like, yeah, if you don't know, then ask the guy, because it was mostly guys. And it was tough. I felt that I have to kind of like prove myself more. I don't know, because like I was the minority always. So I had to work even harder and prove myself more in order to feel that I belong.
But that was kind of a you expectation on a little bit, right? Not necessarily external. So like, I think that this is a really interesting topic for us to discuss, like the standard of women being one of few women, like in math, physics, like it is different, I would say. I think most people have the experience that you are expressing, where you're talking about like, I had to work harder to prove I was there. My experience was maybe a little bit different, and I'm not exactly sure. Like, I don't want to describe this wrong because it's maybe weird, but okay, to give context, my favorite Disney person growing up was Esmeralda, right? Because she always got what she wanted. She used her sexuality to her advantage and beat all the men in the process, right? In the Hunchback of Notre Dame. But okay, so that's sort of how I saw myself going through these math rooms where like maybe I was the only woman. I feel like it was like empowering almost, and to some degree, because I did feel, at least by the people who mattered, like of course you ran into jerks occasionally and there's nothing to do about that, by the people that we worked with on a regular basis, and the people you would actually want to work with, they very much valued my contribution because it was something different than what they were thinking about to begin with. And so for in that way, I felt like my femaleness really added to my value in the group of the research. And I felt like I was able to work it pretty easily, even though I was a little bit alone. I don't know.
Yeah. What about you, Maylene? What did you think about that?
That's a great question. I guess, like in high school, I vividly remember being one of a few women in math classes. Like I have this image in my mind of me being in calculus, and I'm pretty sure it was me and two other women. And I remember being outside the classroom waiting to go in for the teacher to open the door or whatever, and just being surrounded in my head by a sea of like tall guys, right? Because I'm like a high school girl and I'm not that tall, and all these guys have just had growth spurts, and they're like, I'm just in this sea of men, and that's like my impression of math. Then my college was very like full of non-traditional students. I will put it that way. We were 60% Latino, mostly low income, mostly commuting students, and my classrooms were a lot more diverse, I think, than like anything I see at Cornell, for example. I don't remember vividly like being the only woman ever in a math class. I definitely don't think it was gender balanced, but I never necessarily felt isolated in that way until I got to more spaces like as a grad student. Then I started to see more disparities. Like right now I'm seeing that in my program, where I'm more often finding myself being the only woman in the room, which I did not. I was so lucky to not necessarily feel that as an undergrad. So I don't know. I guess I didn't. I would think about it only in relation to my peers, because I remember that when I was decided to start the math major, I got a lot of pushback, but not from professors. I got pushback from like guys who were my peers who were like, math is probably too hard for you. Like it was too hard for me. So like, why would you be able to do that? Obviously, if I couldn't do it, Maylene can't do it. And that actually fueled me. I was fueled by a lot of spite. I was like, I'm going to show all of y'all that, yeah, I can do that, because who are you to tell me that I can't do math? So part of it was spite, but I never had professors make me feel like I didn't belong until I got to grad school. Then I did have some experiences that were more like that. And sometimes I can't tell for sure exactly what the difference, but knowing that at my undergrad institution, both the demographics of the students and the professors are just like so different from a place like Cornell. And I often wonder if it has something to do with that, because a lot of the professors that I had, they came from the same like socioeconomic economic background that the students did. That's why they were there teaching at that school. And so maybe they knew better how to like make spaces more welcoming for people like me. So I'm very lucky in that way. And I think if I had any professors in undergrad, I guess I don't know for sure, but my first year of grad school, a professor kind of crushed me, and a lot of the confidence I'd built up in undergrad as a mathematician, like I had never been afraid to ask questions. And then it took me years after my first year of grad school to be comfortable asking questions again, because I was so humiliated and I felt so disrespected by a particular like encounter that I had, and it totally wrecked my perspective. And I'd always face like those doubts of like, do I belong, and like, am I good enough, and can I do this, and is this the right place for me, to some extent, just because that happens. But I didn't experience it so badly until grad school. And yeah.
Yeah, so the fueling thing, I agree. Like this was like a motor for me, for sure. Like the professor who told me in undergrad that it would be too hard to do an internship in Princeton. I did an internship in Princeton, and I got accepted for grad school. I went back to my undergrad to finish up graduating, and I met him on purpose to tell him that like he was telling me like, how was your internship? I told him great, and he said like, what are you going to do after that? I told him I'm going to do a PhD in Princeton. He said what? And it felt so good to kind of like politely tell him like, I don't know if you remember, but you told me like this was like out of my league for sure. But more than fueling, I think like representation was super important for me. Like I'm a kind of person like that, like when I see someone similar doing similar things, it encouraged me to kind of like give me some courage to do it as well. And during my grad school, again, I found myself like, I guess like this is part of the retention. There is like more women in general in undergrad STEM field than in grad school STEM field. So I have like vivid memories of like, we had, so plasma physics has like a yearly conference that it's called DPP, Department of Plasma Physics, of APS, American Physical Society. And every year it goes somewhere basically for like a kind of a week of conference. I was matrixed to Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory, PPPL, which was a great lab, but very, very few female there. And I remember vividly, like the conference was in Providence, Rhode Island. So the lab decided to, instead of flying people, to rent 2 buses and bus us all there. And it was like crazy because like we gather everyone who is going, and then we would like go inside the bus. And both of the buses were only male except me as a student and a female postdoc. That's it. And we sit next to each other. And that's it. All the rest are male physicists. So to show you like this loneliness, and this is like absolutely real. It wasn't like, I never felt like it was like something that's bad or something, but I feel lonely. I really felt lonely, especially about like personal life. So it's good, like you are in grad school, you're doing you're building your career and things like that. If you have support, it's even better. But the personal life, when you don't have like peers who go through the same thing, it's really hard, and it feels like, I would say the only advantage that I had is that, students usually when you go to conference, you have to share a room. Because I was always the only female, I had the only room to myself. So this was like one of the pros. Like I always was guaranteed to have my own room because like there's no other girl to share with. But yeah, the representation was amazing. I mean, it was very important. I have to say that one person, she's not even aware that she had so much impact on my life, but I have to say it, that it's the only female president of Princeton University. Her name is Professor Shirley Tillman. She was like the only one, and she spent so much time attending these like women in science, women in engineering committees that I would sometimes go to. And she gave us so much like insight and so much bits of her life and her career, and how she was like so pro diversity in the career and in science for females specifically, that she helped me personally so much with that. So yeah, to see that was very important. I have some questions. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask then if we've talked enough to maybe come back to this retention idea, and if we have ideas, because there obviously is this big mass exodus of women out of things like math and physics and engineering, despite of them being at lower levels of it, being testing similarly. I know that they have spent in California, I don't have the exact numbers, but I know recently there was something that came out where they've spent some large amount and it's not really changing the needle very far on women staying in STEM. I was just wondering if we have any thoughts we'd like to share on what we think the issues might be.
So it depends on each stage of your career, right? For professional women, it's very easy. If you want retention, you have flexible schedules. There is like the maternity and the part of life that like kind of discourage a lot of women to continue their career if they want to have kids and things like that. We can talk about it. This is a whole subject. But like during the youngest kind of part of your career, I would say like putting it in a, I don't know, I think about myself personally, I would have loved to see more women. How do we do that? I guess by like encouraging, like outreaching, doing some like, I don't know, finance, like scholarships or things like that, that encourage women. It's kind of like when we talked about our lives, something that was in common to us is like we had the drive and we had this like willingness to do that. And I knew a lot of women who had that drive as well, and but did not pursue, because like there's like this kind of like, sometimes it doesn't need to be much, like a little, like a word, a sentence from someone somewhere, and it kind of ruin your confidence for the rest of your career. as you were saying, Maylin, about like, you know, how this works. So I don't know.
I feel like there's so much to unpack. Like there's so many dimensions. One that I'm thinking of is that I don't know how like far back this goes, but as a like society, we've kind of constructed this outcome, or I don't know how to describe it. Like we're so focused on grades, for example, right? Like it's you got to do what you got to do to get the A. It doesn't matter, like whatever it takes. Cheating, sacrificing your life, like whatever it takes, you need to get the highest grade. It's like very competitive. And part of the reason why I bring that up is because it takes some of the joy out of it takes actually like all the joy out of learning. And I don't know if this is I wouldn't call this like a women's only issue, so I'm honestly not sure if it's super relevant to the conversation, but I feel like that plays a huge role. For those who haven't heard of growth mindset versus like fixed mindset, it's this like idea that like, do you believe that you have like a fixed amount of knowledge and once that you can achieve, and once you achieve that intellect, there's nothing you can do to learn more or know more, like you're kind of just blanked down by, I don't know, genetics or something. That's fixed mindset. Growth mindset is like you could learn anything given enough time, support, energy, given that you are supported enough and you put enough effort into it. Like this is really important in math specifically, because math I think is actually well known to be kind of a gate, like what do they call it? A blocker for women in STEM, because a lot of STEM degrees require math as some, like to some degree, like calculus. And this tends to be a place where you lose a lot of not just women, but a lot of like intersectional identities there, and a lot of groups that are underrepresented in STEM. You lose them at like calculus is like a huge thing in the math circle and community. And like there's a question about why that is, and part of it I think I could talk about like how we've taught math and it's not working clearly in a lot of ways, how math is taught in K through 12 and in early college. And part of that, I feel like it's all tied together into the, what are you putting value on the learning versus the grades? And are you having students believe that they can actually learn math? Or do they think of themselves as, I'm not a math person. There's no way I could ever do math. So I guess this is not any career that requires math is not for me. That is it's very common for people to say I'm not a math person. Like half the time when I tell someone that I study math, they're like, "Wow, you must be so smart." I'm not a math person.
Just half.
Yeah. Well, the other half is probably, I don't know about half. I guess sorry, I shouldn't give statistics. The majority of the time I'll get either like I'm not a math person, like I didn't do math, or you must be so smart. Or sometimes I will get people who say, "Oh, I loved math," but they didn't pursue it. I don't know. They just like, "Oh, I loved math in elementary school or high school or whatever." And I wonder how much like that factors into all these other STEM fields where like, if you don't get things right the first time, if you are not immediately good at chemistry, if you're not immediately good at these things, then you don't belong in them. And I think you could say that about any field. Like some people, yes, like they maybe start off better writers than the average person for whatever reason. And other people, it's like you put in so many years of time writing that's why you're such a good writer, because you put so much time and effort and practice into it. And I tell that to people about math. I'm not any more like naturally talented at math. I just really loved it, and so I would spend a lot of time on it. And if you spend a lot of time on something, you just get good at it. And a lot of people don't like it or don't enjoy it, and so they don't spend a lot of time in it. And so it makes sense that they struggle a little bit more with it because they haven't put as much time. So I don't know. I feel like there are so many factors at so many different levels of what could be going on. But I know for me, I don't do very well in super highly competitive environments, to be honest. I kind of shut down. I like a collaborative environment where we build each other up, and that's not always what you see, I think, in STEM. I can't say anything about other fields like art and humanities. Maybe it's super, for all I know, it's just as competitive or more competitive in those fields. I don't know.
No, it has, like, it's very known, the imposter syndrome that everyone suffers, especially like when you go to grad school. Like I felt the same. Like I found myself in grad school at Princeton University with, I thought everyone was a genius, and I was like an error in the in the recruiting. I was like a misfit or something. And yeah, it's important to learn that like I guess I told myself that I don't need someone to come and tell me that I belong. I build myself a spot, basically. If no one tells me that I belong either way. So, and this actually was something, again, Professor Shirley Tillman said something that she lived when she was a grad student. She was saying like, she was like one of the few in a like workshop, or like someone was giving like a talk or something, and she was like struggling with some specific word or wording or something, and she said that like she was with her advisor and she was like trying to ask the question, but she was so afraid. Like she was the only woman, and if she asked the question, like the only woman would ask a question like, "What is this?" And she asked it in a so like sorry way. Like she said, like she was saying, "Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Can you?" And at the end, she said her own advisor told her like, do not ask a question like this. Ask them with confidence, because like everyone in the room didn't understand the same thing as like you didn't understand. So asking it, don't feel sorry when you are just wanting some information from someone. Like you don't have to feel like you are sorry. So things like that you have to learn. At the beginning it's super hard and unnatural, because like, you know, when you ask, even like it's a stigma that stays in your head, like, you know, women are supposed to be the nice, calm, like not problematic students. So you have to build this like confidence and this way of daring to ask question, daring to dream to a higher like career or like crazy ideas, and do them, pursue them, no matter what the others say, because you're always going to find like people who are like shut you down throughout your career at any level, any level. So
And sometimes it will be your own people, okay? Like we
sure.
probably all have plenty of stories of the women in our life that like unfortunately, because I don't necessarily blame them, but like also we all have our own like ownership and agency. But if there's that mentality of there's only room for one of us at the top, so I gotta tear the other women down, like that exists
Yeah,
too.
yes, that's true. Sometimes like the female like people are like female colleagues can be like meaner or something, and it's kind of like this is the setup, right? Competitiveness, and there's only one spot, and it's hard, it's tough for sure.
Well, so for me, just to get like a little bit back to the original question, the problem about the retention of women into the higher levels of STEM is more a problem with the way that we've set up the STEM situation, like the field itself. And I don't really hear people talking about this in real. To me, it's like vaguely related to diversity and getting people with diverse ideas in it, but also it's just related to the field itself. So all the time we talk about, and I talk about like STEAM in general, and I always include the arts and like things with communication, like obviously are very important to real good AI and are hugely important to being a scientist, right? So like, how many times in your studies did you learn how to actually be a mentor? How many times did you learn about presenting your work, about making good plots, about scientific writing, about all these skills that are actually so about doing networking, about how to build your community of people, of your things that are more important to the success of your career than actually like your technical ability. And the only thing we're testing, showing people, getting people integrated in on at the beginning levels of math are boring calculus problems, right? So specifically with math, like everything past like a certain level is all logic and understanding, and I describe it more as an art than a science. It's very free in that way, and everything at the lower levels is all 1 + 1 is 2, right? And so we're not advertising the cool stuff that you get to do at the end of the rainbow by having people just try and add things up, right, at the beginning levels. And they think they're trying to make it simple for us and break it down to the like core things that you will need for later. But there's so much missing in STEAM education. Like legitimately, we're just missing these big pieces. And so my personal opinion is that women are just more attracted to these other fields like biology and other things where they can see the light at the end of the tunnel there. They can see what they would be doing. They could see themselves as working as a psychologist. They could see themselves working as a doctor or a nurse or something. They have the right abilities to do the math things. We're just not communicating the actual field early enough in their math career. The fact that calculus is still the highest math degree or the highest math class in high school makes literally no sense to me. Statistics should be 100%. And now that we have this whole AI world, I think we need to totally rethink how we're doing all of this. And like, sure, linear algebra is important. Sure, you got to know how to integrate stuff. I mean, but kind of do you? Because like, you know, calculators that exist do that. What's hard is how to model things and how to work out the problem and take real world and make it math. And we never teach anyone that. And that's the part I've always been super passionate about. And I think lots of women are, and it's why statistics is a little bit less of a gender gap than maybe some of these other fields. But everything seems so, and it's focused on this hard science, if you will, that people value more because that's how they've set up the game. But I feel like the whole game is rigged for us to lose in some sense. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents, that I really think that we need to start earlier on the more fun parts of where math can take you, and rethink the whole education process, and more women will be drawn to it.
I think that actually, I mean, that does make sense considering that what really convinced me to go to grad school was my very first research experience as an undergrad math major, which we were doing disease modeling. And so like I could clearly see the end goal was working at the Center for Disease Control, modeling the spread of diseases and like literally saving lives. And I was like, what? You can save lives with math? That's it. I'm sold. Like I'm there. I thought to save lives I'd have to be like a firefighter or a doctor, and I knew I didn't want to do those things. But now I know I can do this with math. I ended up not doing disease modeling, but there's a lot of really cool applications. Like there are the type of work that I could do with my research could affect policy and could affect people's lives, like in theory for the better. And that's really cool and exciting. And I had no idea as a high schooler. That's why I wanted to be a social worker, because I knew social workers would have impact on local communities. You could argue about like how the pitfalls of that system too, like it's not perfect, but for me that was like a clear, I knew what impact I would make as a social worker. And then part of what convinced me to become go to grad school was learning about the impact I could make with math as a degree, that I wasn't just solving for X all the time and just integrating things, and like there was a purpose and meaning. So I feel like that does make a lot of sense. I might have been on the STEAM path sooner if I had known what I could do. I don't know why I didn't get on the biology path or something, because why didn't I want to be a microbiologist? I don't know. I guess I didn't like biology in high school all that much. I did like chemistry. But the other thing, the pipeline is leaky, like starting a lot sooner. But at the PhD level in chemistry, I've heard some horror stories of what they expect of you as a researcher, like being in lab Monday through Sunday, 10 hours a day, like you're working 80 hours a week, or you're not a real chemist. That's crazy. I'm sorry. Like that is so toxic, but that is like what you do to succeed in chem. And that definitely, like, someone rigged that game hard.
I actually think that is changing, and I put this a little bit in the advertisement for this stream, is that I think not just women, but people in general are demanding more
Work-life
balance in general. Like, I think that this is something that is happening across the board. And I do think that gives us this opportunity to make those chemists and other fields more accessible to people who are turned off by the idea of working that much. So I think if that's what you're afraid of in STEAM, come join us, because it is changing. And as the millennials get in the manager positions, it's definitely changing.
Yeah, no,
waiting
for
for some of these professors to retire.
sure. No, for sure. And I have to say, like, so this was like my question. What are the big changes that you noticed throughout your career in the work-life balance? This is part of it, but also in the as women scientists working in academia, because all of us work in academia. Like, did you see a change in the leadership or the direction or like the hiring things or like anything that like kind of like is better? What do we do better?
I don't know if I can say anything is better. I've moved around places, and so different places have been different, but I'm not sure if that's because they're different places or because anything has changed. It doesn't feel linear to me. I don't feel like we've changed much. In fact, I honestly, not to be political, feel like we've been moving backwards lately. So I don't have a rosy picture to paint for you there, man.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Or like I've just noticed this difference. Like when I tell you, like earlier in grad school, we were pretty, I feel like gender balanced ish. I was definitely never the only woman. Like my cohort was 50-50, so that's pretty good. And then now way more often I'm starting to like find myself in male only spaces, and it's just weird. I'm like, how did this change so dramatically in the last couple years?
So part of it, I think, is the lack of information about grad school, excuse me. So most people are not aware that, for example, grad school in STEM, usually they pay you to come and study for these 5 years research. They think like you have to pay in order to go to grad school. So this is like the first misconception that like people like say, oh, why am I going to spend money to learn more stuff? No, you're not spending money. This is the rare time of your life where you are paid to not produce something, but to improve yourself. Tell me anywhere.
Well, you usually have to teach or something. Like you're all paid also to do something, but it's part of the whole package. Yeah.
Part of your so you have to teach, but it helps on your communication, it helps from anything. So anyway, what I'm saying is like you have a stipend and you are improving or like deepening your knowledge and your like abilities and skills while you are like getting a degree. So this part, I think it's like not emphasized enough to people and think that they are wasting their time. I've never seen it as a waste of time. On the contrary, like I see it as like, this is your last chance before all the employers are going to ask you to produce something after that, which is like the real world and the industry and whatever. But before that, you have this time when you can focus on yourself and advancing yourself scientifically.
Well, so we could say something about that there, though. But it's not like the salaries are all fair or equal at universities. So my brother's postdoc, not postdoc, graduate program, he was paid fine. Like he could subsist on. I was paid every single year in my PhD, and this was only 2019. I ended $16,000 a year, and then they required us to pay $2,500 back to them in fees. And that was all we were paid for the whole year.
Yeah, it's bad.
So it's not great. everywhere.
It's
So,
not everywhere. You have to shop. It's like when you go to buy a house, they say like you have to shop for houses. So you have to shop for grad schools. I saw in the chat that some people were thinking about going to grad school and asking for advice. So my first advice is to shop around. Like there is many grad schools, many programs. Shop around for advisor, because I always say that a grad school is like a long-term relationship with your advisors, like a really long time, so a long-term relationship. So you have to make sure that this professional relationship, is going to work out, because the advisor have tremendous power on your research, funding, papers, a lot of things. So shop around, see if there is like a connection in a professional like connection and scientific connection, if you like what you're going to do, because again, grad schools, PhD is like 5-6 years. It's a long time. You want to do something that's really you like it. And yeah, so this is like the first part. And look around, like do not apply to like schools if they are not like paying enough, unless you're like absolutely will have like a specific professor that you want to work with. I understand, but even that, you have to kind of like weight the pros and cons because of that. But there's like many other programs, like they have like they even like for example, UC Berkeley, they did strikes during months to increase the income for grad student who have to teach an teaching assistant and pursue their PhD. So there are universities who are trying to increase and improve the grad school students' benefits. So shop around and look for the best fit for yourself. This is a 5 years. Jobs don't last 5 years like this. You have a guarantee of 5 or 6 years. So you have to make sure that like it's a good fit for you and your life, for sure.
My shameless plug is definitely, if you have the choice of going to a graduate school where the grad students are unionized, do that, like labor union, I mean.
Yeah.
And support grad student unions, because they're working really hard to make grad school more affordable for people, and affordable in the sense that like, yes, you're paid, but like Mandy was saying,
Pay yourself.
in some
Yeah.
cases you can be paid pennies. And honestly, even like, so I'm at Cornell, and we in terms of like across the nation, in terms of graduate student stipends and salaries, we're pretty up there, like close to the top. And I'm so privileged in that way to be fine. But also part of the reason I'm fine is because I graduated undergrad with no debt. And so like I already started from the top somewhere. I have friends who have dependents that they support, or just family members they support. They have debt, like all these other things that it's not necessarily university's fault, but like society's fault almost. And their stipends, even though they're the same stipend as mine, they don't have the same safety net that I do. And so like I've run into a lot of like in union organizing for my grad school, like for grad students, a lot of people who are like, I don't really like need a raise, like I'm fine, I'm doing good, I'm able to save money. And I keep wanting to be like, I'm so happy, like that is fantastic, I'm like literally so overjoyed for you. But we have people who are also grad students in this other department, or like in our own department, who are like struggling to make ends meet and like going vegetarian because meat is too expensive, like not because of animals, but because they can't afford their groceries. So like I appreciate that you don't necessarily feel like you need a raise, but we need to raise the bar across the board, because some people just can't afford to go to graduate school. If I had a kid, if I had to support a kid, then my stipend would not be enough. It's enough for me right now because it's just me and my husband, who's also making about the same amount of money. But like if he didn't have a job or something, like it just, as soon as you add these layers, and that's really important if you think about it for like historical reasons, why women aren't like as often getting PhDs and things like that, because it is hard. It is not as affordable. And a lot of people I know that do have kids have partners that are making way more money, and that's how they're able to survive, because they would not be able to make it work on their PhD stipend salary. Anyway, sorry, that was my soapbox. Support labor unions.
Yeah. No,
So, Bob, I want to bring you back into the conversation. Do you have any questions for us?
Not any good ones.
It can be a bad one.
I mean, I'm always one to make it funny, but I guess it's been a lot of really good and serious conversation, but is there any... I don't know, do you have any funny stories that you feel like someone like forgot you were a woman? Everyone, you know, someone was talking to a group and they were like, listen, men, we're all men here, or I don't know. Is there anything funny that's happened that stands out to you? Chat, don't tell him I wasn't listening. It's because I was reading a bunch of stuff in the game.
I guess the only funny thing, kind of like a men's thing where she had got the room by herself. I had an internship, and on the floor you could count on the number of your hands how many people were women, and there was just like dozens and dozens of men, like maybe a couple hundred, right? And there were like only a few of us girls. So like all the women just like kept all their toiletries in the bathroom. Like they each had their own little like bathroom section, and there was just like the bathroom that was a big bathroom, right? It was like a communal everyone bathroom, but there were only like 2 or 3 women, so everybody just had their own little situation set up in the bathroom to be just their own space because no one was gonna mess with it, because why would anyone else go in there? So that was a little funny, I guess.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I don't ever remember a time anyone forgetting. I guess I'm privileged to say this, forgetting that I'm a woman. I wish I had a funny story like that, but I do not.
I had like awkward kind of situations because I was pregnant and had 2 kids while in grad school. So I had situation where I went on conferences 8 months pregnant with huge belly, and like, yeah, it was like, for example, the last year when I was looking for postdocs, and I think by law you cannot ask someone if they're going to have kids or something, but obviously I was like 8 months pregnant looking for postdocs. So it was like, I remember clearly when I had at the conference, I had like a meeting, like a kind of like a, speed interview, kind of like a speed dating, where you go like, there are like labs there, and you can go and give your resume and give a quick chat, and if it works out, then they can invite you and give a talk about your research. And my second kid, I was pregnant with my second kid with a 1-year-old, and I think I was like 8 months pregnant, and I went for the interview. And the weird thing that they have to ask everyone, but they were like, I remember the guy, it was 2 professors. The guy was telling me like, okay, so we can legally ask you, when are you going to start? And I was saying like, well, as soon as you want. So
You just totally sidestepped it. You didn't mention the elephant in the room.
Oh, I didn't, because they didn't ask me. I had a huge belly anyway. So they said like, when can you start? They said like, as soon as I graduate, I can start. That's fine. I got the job anyway. I got a postdoc even pregnant with 8 months, a baby. So it worked out. But yeah, like this would not happen with someone else, except. For sure.
Can I just say, scientist men know nothing of what to do with a pregnant woman. It is very hilarious. Like, I just kept getting pulled in. Like, I had the terrible sickness, the HG pregnancy, where I was throwing up the whole time. And they kept asking me to come in to just, like, stand and do math at whiteboards. And I was like, can we, for God's sake, sit down or, like, do this somewhere else or, like, talk online? And it's so funny because they wouldn't come within like a radius of me. Everyone I worked with, they were all men, and they would like they were gonna catch it or something. I don't even know. I think they just very much did not want to touch me because they didn't want to be the one that bumps the pregnant lady, but they like all stood back like very far and did not.
And that's why we need
Very
more
funny.
women. They know the thing. So yeah, no, for sure. Like the loneliness and the awkwardness is highlighted and even get more when you go through these life transformation. And yeah, you are pregnant for sure. I remember like the first time, so grad school, my grad school did not have, I think they had only one pregnant student in like the last 15 years. No, maybe in my department there's like, yeah, I think one or two. So it was very, they didn't know even, like I wanted to talk to other women who had this experience when I found out, and they could not point me to anyone. They pointed me like to like class of like 88 or class of 95 or something, like old person alumni, but not like recent ones. So it was really rare. Like you won't find, and again, this is part of life, and it's very hard to balance work and personal life, work-life balance. But yeah, in grad school, it's even harder because, like, you know, you have to do the research, do the publishing and the conferences, and make yourself known to the community because it's very important for your career. And yeah, managing that is hard with pregnancies and kids, for sure.
Okay, so people in chat have sort of asked this question in different ways. What advice would you have for someone trying to get in to this field right now?
What field? Like the STEM field?
Yeah, STEAM, whatever.
As an undergrad or as a grad student?
Do both.
Advice. Go for it. Just go, just go for it. Don't
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think if
like
you find something you love, like if you really find yourself just loving chemistry or loving biology or loving math or loving like you just genuinely love one of these science adjacent whatever fields, like that's really important because, and it's not the only thing that will get you through everything, like there's a lot more, but if that's not there, I feel like it's going to be way harder because there are so many barriers. And so it's like you got to love it. I mean, I think maybe this is actually with any field. Like my brother, he's a musician, music producer, and that's tough to like make a lot of money in general if you want to like make it big or whatever. And I love music, but I don't know if I love it the way that he does it. He's willing to put in what he needs to do to like, he just wants to be happy doing what he loves to do, you know? And I feel like similarly with science, if you love it, then I do believe there's a place for you, and like to make it work, it will, depending on a lot of different circumstances, you will face lots of challenges in life in general, but like also depending on your particular identity, you may face unique challenges to like you in STEM and science. But it's really important if you love it. Like if you're like, I just need to do a math degree, I don't know. I guess I have mixed feelings about like, if you're like, I want to be a scientist so I can make money, is the thing that
you
I'm
don't
not
make
sure.
money. You don't make money
Well,
when you're a scientist. You should go to Wall Street or something. This is not a path for like making money. Now, I guess now with data science and AI, maybe it's different. But I'm talking about like physicists, chemists, and others. Like you don't like it. It takes a lot of time. Like to be a scientist, a researcher, you spend like 10 plus years studying. So it's
I
like,
love it. You gotta really be passionate about
yeah,
it.
I have to say, so one of the advice that I would give is like, try to not be discouraged by all the failures that will happen throughout this process. Because there will be failures, there will be like things that would not go your way, and it's so easy to abandon and say, just give up and just give up. Don't listen to the noises and voices and nayers and whatever, and just pursue what you like. When you find something and you really like it, it doesn't feel like work. It feels really like a hobby or like a passion project. So you don't count hours and things like that. It is hard. I'm not going to say like, oh, it's always rosy. Even if you like something, like I like science, I like physics, I like math. My day-to-day life was not that always rosy. There's like a lot of effort with not much result for a long periods of time, and then something clicks, and there is like something happening, a highlight, and then back to the long work with not much results. So it is not like always like great, but it is worth to do it. It's so worth to do it when you are in this like times, even the hard ones. Like you would never regret it. Once you have your PhDs for life, you have the credentials for life, and you can pursue your research of whatever you want to do. So I think it's just worth it. It's hard for sure. And I have to say, for undergrad though, just go for it. It's kind of like, I see it like a white canvas. You can be whatever you want. High school, like everyone graduate like high school with like not much idea of what they want. We all share this. Like if you told us like after high school that we would do what we did, like I had no idea I wanted to do plasma physics, or I didn't know what it was a plasma. At that time, really, plasma physics. What is plasma physics? So I think, yeah, undergrad, just go for it. Jump and try. Even like, especially here in the US, where like you can be in, what do we call it? Like, when you are a student and you don't know your like major, you're like undeclared. Yeah. You can do undeclared and take a bunch of classes and see what you like, because it's so hard to kind of like settle on one field if you are like kind of trying to see what you like. But yeah, just try. What about you, Amanda?
Yes, my advice would be, and it's related, I guess, to imposter syndrome, because I feel like this is a big barrier for a lot of people, and I feel like we all feel it, that no one knows as much as they seem like they do. Like, I think I saw, okay, again, political, but it was Obama, I think, talking about like how you get at these tables with these really important people, like even scientists who are like the most well-known or whatever, and you get talking to them, and there's nothing magical about them. They are just regular people. There's this misconception that people are geniuses, don't work hard, they just produce brilliant thoughts out of nothing, right? And I think that that's really misconstrued, because I have worked with lots of geniuses in my career. I've been really lucky. There's been so many brilliant people I've worked with, including the two lovely ladies on the call. But the point is that it just doesn't come out of thin air. It comes out of hard work, and no one just magically has these solutions, and no one is thinking bad things about you without you being complicit in it, right? Like we have this imagining that, oh, everyone's gonna find out everything that I've done is so easy and like it doesn't deserve to be on the same level. Actually, I think like simplicity is a clock. Like you're simple at first because you don't know it very well, and then you get more complex as you learn it well, and then as you really learn something, you make it simple again. So it's hard sometimes for people to distribute, to take out in their minds, at least for me, that the simplicity about whether I'm just an idiot or I'm being simple because I understand this so well and I'm distilling it to something. And I think that it's okay to talk to each other like regular people in the simplicity mode. We don't have to feel like we don't know what we're doing. You still know all that depth of that iceberg below, just if you're just talking about the top of the iceberg. And so my advice would be, no one is magical.
Yeah.
Geniuses aren't.
I want to highlight that as well, because we're talking about academia, but even for like jobs in the industry or whatever, and specifically for women, I think there's a study who showed that like when there's a job listing, like a male candidate would be maybe qualified for like 40% and he would apply. The female candidate may be like qualified for like 60 or 70% and doubt herself and not apply because she thinks like she doesn't fit the profile. So this is facts that like in general, we think like we think of ourselves lower than like the competitors, and we tend to kind of not have confidence. We should not do that. We absolutely should go for it and have like the try it for sure.
And I guess just to give a fun example of that, not fun for me, but like maybe you look at me or one of us up here and say, well, they're perfect and they've made no mistakes in their careers and they just do everything right and don't do anything wrong at all. I want to talk to you about probably the thing that comes to my mind as the biggest failure that I've ever had, because it's absurd and ridiculous. So at my postdoc national lab, there was this competition for like giving presentations that are like 3 minutes in length, and they were like cute, like little TED Talky sort of talks, right? So the point was to distill down your like super serious research into something that was understandable and communicable in 3 minutes with just like basic 3 slides max, like no big numbers, just like high level, right?
Yeah.
Talking competition.
Slam research?
I'm sorry?
Is it the slam? Is this slam
Yes,
challenge?
the research slam. Okay,
Yeah.
so I spent all this time on my presentation because communication really matters to me and research communication really matters. And I was talking about like multi-fidelity models, and I had this whole cute thing worked out about like guessing how many jelly beans are in a jelly bean container, and how you could do it really fast and get it kind of wrong, or you could do it really slow, do some more things that are, do some math to try and get at it, and like depended on how much time you had, you could weight those things, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there was a whole thing. I don't remember it now because it's been years and now I've blocked it out. But I was so excited about this because I thought that mine was so great, my talk, and I got in front of the people to do it for the real time, and my brain went absolutely blank. And I couldn't remember a single thing. And I was just standing there in silence for, I want to say, 30 seconds in the middle of my talk because I couldn't remember what I was supposed to say. I had the whole thing memorized because it needed to be down to the 3 minutes. You had to only do the anyway. So it was horrifying. I was in this room of people just staring at me, waiting for me to talk. And all the comments I got back, they gave you comments afterwards. Were like, hey, when we were talking, it was great. Maybe try talking next time. And I just cried and cried afterwards. Obviously, I didn't get through, and I was so embarrassed because I had built it up in my head to be this thing that I'm like, I have to do well at this because this is the thing that I really care about. I really care about communicating science well. Don't mess this up. And because of that, I absolutely fell on my face. And, you know, I think people forgave me, and it went on, and like we all continued to live our lives. And I'm sure not a single person in that room thinks of that 30 seconds to this day, but I still do. Every time I get in front of a group of people, I'm like, am I just gonna go blank? Is my mind just gonna leave me and I'm just gonna sit there in silence again? And I know that it's not the same stakes because it's like totally different situation, but if I can come back from that and just staring at people in a room full of PhDs waiting for me to literally say 2 words together, I think you can do and come back from anything that happens. So
Try to say it in a foreign language. Like for me, English is the second language, so it's even worse, right? So you want to pronounce it right and things like that. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I see in the chat that there's a lot of questions about um, worry about funding and recent changes and things like that in science in general. And I don't think this is like specifically to women about women in science, but I think it's worth to talk about that uh, and yeah, say something. So for sure, there is like not to be political, but there is a shift and there is a change in scientific. How do we say scientific funding, scientific support that is occurring right now. We feel it through national labs, but also through the different cuts for on different domain. I really, really, really hope that this is not any sort of deterrent for young student to go into science. Again, whatever political changes they are trying to do, this is like short term. The knowledge and research and things that you want to accomplish as a student is for life. So I really hope that this would not dissuade anyone on doing this. I see it as a cycle. I don't see it as a permanent thing. I've lived through many cycles. So I worked in fusion where we've lived through like catastrophe of like some experiments, budget cuts on fusion that were not even political, but just like over budget and things like that, and didn't like feel like anyway. So we've lived through like changes in the research that you would do, research fundings that you would have, and things like that. And this is part of the job. So you always have to kind of like pursue whatever you want to do and kind of like find a way to twist it in a way or to change it in a way that could get funding from some sort of different alternative sources. You want to say something about that, Mandy?
I mean, my only thing would be that science is hard getting funding right now, but it's hard getting a job in anything right now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a science issue; it's the world issue, gestures and everything. So, like Maylene said earlier, do what you love.
Yeah, and it should not be a decision, whatever's happening right now, to your career path, for sure.
And maybe one thing I'd like to add that I think somewhat goes back to something Mandy was speaking about earlier regarding the skills that actually matter, or like that end up being the most important for your success, I think in any career. But there's this like, they call them soft versus hard skills. I'm not really sure where that naming came from, but like hard skills are like the technical skills. Like I can compute an integral, like I can do this really this math thing, or I can run this specific thing of code. Like it's a technical, teachable skill. I could give you like an A on an exam or something, whatever. And soft skills are like the slightly more unmeasurable, but things like
Resilience.
being able to network and like emotional intelligence, communication gets put in there a lot of the times, working with others. Like these are slightly less like, they're a little harder to quantify, maybe is like a way to put it. But I actually do think the soft skills have been these quote soft skills. Like it's not my ability to be able to do hard math that has been the key to my success. For me, something that has been super helpful is definitely networking. Like any time in my career path from undergrad and grad school where I've been like, I wonder what that's like, or would I like that career? Would I want to do that? I would find someone who did that and it was a lot of either cold emails or like being brave enough to approach someone at a conference. And then I would talk to as many people as I could to try and get as much information about what is it like to be you or be in your field or be in your career. And through that was part of how I figured out like, oh, I don't want to do this, or I do want to do this, or like I'm not sure about that. But all that to say is like whatever you're pursuing, don't don't discount those skills. Like Mandy was saying, in science, it's very status quo to be like, oh, you did really good science. You're not that best communicator, but that's not as important. Like, as long as the science is really good. When in reality, I think everyone on this call, we believe so much that the communication is just as important. It is so, so important. That's like a soft versus a hard skill thing, but the soft skills do matter. If you communicate things really well, that could set you apart from another brilliant scientist. You're both brilliant, but like, if you can communicate your stuff to someone else better, you have a better chance of convincing them to hire you or anything, to get funding. Like, it all goes down into all these things. And for me, like the whole PhD thing, the thing that I'm taking the most out of it that makes this so worth it is not my expertise in like causality. It is all the other stuff that I've learned how to do throughout this PhD, from the networking to the writing to the problem solving, like all these other things that are a little harder to quantify. And so I'm hoping that's like an encouragement, like just whether you're worried about science or any job in general, that like the specific technical skills sometimes, like, yeah, sure, it does matter. Like, there's the technical things that I could not be a medical assistant right now. I do not have the knowledge to be a medical assistant. I don't know anything about medicine. So like that does matter, but there's all these other unquantifiable skills that aren't always even put in a job description that actually matter so much.
I just want to highlight the one thing that came from one of the things that Maylene talked about along the way in her discussion there was that scientists love to talk about their science. Like, never be afraid to talk to a scientist about their science or about what they do, because so few times do we get to just like talk about our science, and it's the thing we spend all our time thinking about and doing. So they will give you way more than you ever asked for if you ask them about their science, and they're always excited to do it.
For sure. I see questions from the chat. What's the best thing about being a woman in STEM? I guess I can start by saying that, like, I like the fact that it's not really women, but it's more like being in STEM gives you these skills that are transferable to many other fields. We always talk about like AI and this new AI replacing humans and things like that. I think the soft skills and the hard skills that you're developing in a STEM career can be really transferred to many possible careers. And it is like, when you think about it, like when you do these like STEM careers, you are solving problems, right? You're good in solving problems, and solving problems, even like with the AI revolution and things like that, you still need people who know how to solve problems. So I really feel like you have a solid kind of like background and backbones in order to adapt to many distractions or disruptions that can happen. And it's specifically important for women because it gives you, I feel, it gave me personally like stability. Like, it gives you multiple career choices that you can choose from. So I feel like it is something that you kind of like hold it and kind of adapt through whatever changes, with confidence. What about you guys?
I also feel like everything that I can think of is just like what I love about being in STEM. I'm struggling to find something about I guess maybe to try to be focused on the women in STEM thing. I am proud to be part of adding to the representation. I do think lack of representation was is a huge part of the barrier. Like even just the representation of geniuses are don't exist. Like we're normal people who just work hard. Like even that kind of representation of just seeing a woman scientist just be like normal and not a genius, like not the stereotypical dark room genius or something, like that matters so much. And so like I think for me that's something that is specific to getting to be a woman in STEM, is I get to add to that representation. And through these kinds of platforms like the Real Good AI streams, if even one person out there is like, oh, okay, if that's what a mathematician is like, then maybe I can be a mathematician too. Like they're not all stuck up jerks who just work on a whiteboard all day or something. Like if even just one person feels that like they belong because they hear our conversation, I feel like that is the best thing, the most rewarding thing in the world.
So first, I'll speak on that, but I do want to mention chat because they keep asking this. But nurses are women in STEM. I do think that the examples we were given was just people go away from like math and physics, and so that's what we were talking about, not just STEM in general. But absolutely, nurses can be women in STEM. Like join the club. We're happy to have you.
We're talking about our personal like math and physics and statistics.
Yeah.
STEM
well,
is
and like we said, like people go into biology, which is also a STEM. It's just like we meant people go away from math. We should have been a little bit more specific when we were talking about that. The best thing about being a woman in STEM, I mean, I guess if I had to say something crazy, it's that my perspective is already really different. So I feel like, especially now with Real Good AI, I'm allowed to just be myself, and because the expectation is not that I'm going to be exactly like everybody else already, and so like I'm already real different, like that's okay, but I'm allowed to explore all these new things and have this perspective and explore, the intersection of AI and arts, like things like that I don't think are important to other people, like maybe other scientists from the get-go, but after talking to me, I'm able to change their minds about how important that is, and that my perspective is allowed to be so different, and I can bring new things to the conversations in these rooms is a thing that I very much value. I always really value diversity of thought, not just women, but everyone should have a seat at the table because everyone is thinking about these problems differently. And honestly, the perspective and the questions you ask determine the answer that you're going to get in science. Like 99% of the work is phrasing your question properly. And so people contributing their ideas is so important to how we phrase those questions. And I just do feel like I get to add something different as a woman in STEM, and I like doing that.
Off topic, but shout out to the nurses. Nurses are my heroes. Like you guys are my heroes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm trying to
actually saved my life, so thank you, nurses, like legitimately. So
I
don't know. Should we do one more question, because it's almost 3:30 and I know you have to run?
Yeah, I'm just seeing some question here. So people are asking, like, I feel pressured to go to get the master's or PhD. I do not think you have to feel pressured of doing like a master or a PhD. A bachelor is just as enough, depends on each personal decision and personal needs. Yeah. So our choices are our choices. So like why we decided to do a PhD is because we wanted to pursue these like deeper research careers. But like I have all the respect and all the the needed respect for everyone who has any degree on like an undergrad degree, and I consider them as valuable colleagues of mine. Like there's no like hierarchy or something. It's just something completely like personal choice. Like I've had undergrad student who would do amazing research at a lab that are as good as like a grad student doing research. So I don't see it as something negative or something like you have to have your PhD in order to do that. So don't feel obligated to do that. What do you think?
And if you
Mandy?
haven't, like, if you're considering it and you haven't already talked to people who've taken that path, find as many people as you can who are willing to talk to you about that path. Like, if you're like, I'm not sure if I should get a master's degree in my field, if you can't, like, try to find people who did get a master's degree in your field and talk to them in person or over the phone. Like, try to find them and hear about their experiences, because that could really help you determine, like, they might be able to tell you this is why it was worth it, or they might say, honestly, it wasn't worth it, like for me, and I wish I hadn't done it and been pressured. You know, you might talk to as many people as you can, because different people will have their own experiences. So you might have people who are telling you completely different things, but the more you can hear about it from people, that might help you with your decision too about whether you should go to grad school or whatever.
And it depends on the type of career. Like honestly, like a data scientist in a tech company, they sometimes don't even care. Like the experience of your internship and your industry experience are more variable than a PhD sometimes for whatever type of role that they are asking and you're interested in. So it's not a requirement.
Maybe this is worth mentioning too, because we haven't really talked about this yet. You're talking about talking to people and seeing what their opinions are. I was always really swayed when I was younger that I had to go to grad school because all the professors were telling me to go to grad school, right? Because that's what they did, right? So you have to keep in mind the people that you're asking this from. And so if you feel a lot of pressure, is that pressure from people who this is the path that they actually took? And so they say, do the same thing that I did. And I will tell you, there are both sides to this coin, because people who are in academia will tell you you're silly if you don't get a PhD because everybody has PhDs and they just grow on trees, and like that will be their perspective. But then you also, and you can't know anything if you don't have a PhD. And then you'll talk to people who went out in the business world, and they're like, well, experience is what matters. Getting a PhD means nothing. You guys are just thinking about things that don't matter at all. And they think that the research is ridiculous. And so like worrying about what other people's expectations are of what you should be doing, I think is something that you should be really sensitive to. Me, at least, I always want to do what other people are telling me to do, because I want to make them happy. I want to fulfill what I think that they think that I want or should be doing. And like, they have more experience than me. They know what I should be doing better than myself. But actually, you do have to and it would have helped me get a lot further in my career if I had listened to this first. But you really have to trust what you want more than what you think other people want of you, because they all have their own motivations going on, not necessarily. So considering their perspectives is just a good thing to do if you're feeling that pressure. And obviously, we got PhDs, so maybe get a PhD, but that's, coming from us, right? So doesn't mean anything, right? It matters what you think. Yeah.
And try to find people who will cheer you on to good, people. I know this is hard. It's just a challenge of life in general, but there have been lots of times where I've needed to tell someone I've needed someone to ask me, are you not going for this because you actually don't want it, or because you don't think you're good enough? And I've realized, it's because I don't think I'm good enough. I actually do want it, but I convinced myself that I didn't want it because I was afraid that if I tried and failed, I would be heartbroken. So I might as well not even try, right? I've had that experience. Not everyone will. So my advice is not blanket for everyone. But it has been helpful to have people in my life. I've been so lucky who have been able at times to be like, I want to challenge you to like think bigger. And if it's not what you want, like great. I just want to make sure you're not limiting yourself for other reasons that are not, because that happens too sometimes. And like people can put way too high expectations on you for things that you don't want, and people can also be like, you're not good enough to do this. But find good people who are like also willing to let you even expand your own ideas of what you could like and want, and what you could find enjoyment and fulfillment in.
Yeah.
I guess, well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, along with this is kind of like living in the indecision of, I am one of those people who like will imagine every path and like try and work out the optimal decision for things. Like the only wrong decision sometimes is no decision. I had such a hard time deciding where I was going to go to grad school. And like sometimes you want to live in that, well, what if I had done this instead of this other big decision? What if I went back to grad school versus this? I don't think there's anything productive that comes from you living in that what if, or even imagining every possible scenario space, at least to the amount that I do it. It's not productive, and you just have to make a decision and go for it, because you can make whatever decisions you've made the right decision for you at the time, but maybe it will turn out to be the wrong decision later, but you wouldn't have known that unless you made that wrong decision. So I would just encourage you to not be afraid of making these decisions for your career and just standing by them and making them the right decision because they are the decisions that you made. I hate to be this guy, but I have a little kid. So there's the Bluey episode about the horse and the breaking the leg and like, oh, that's bad luck. And then we'll see. And then it's like, oh, well, that's good luck. And like, you never know until things all turn out. So pick a path. You don't see two paths. Pick a path and go with it, and you can do it. And it will be the right one because it was your decision.
Yeah, and I kind of also advise you to find your own people. Like we highlighted throughout this discussion the importance and the crucial role of like mentors and advisors and people, friends and colleagues who would take time and help us talk it through and see it through and things like that. It's super important to find the group, the environment that would help you to understand better. And you can have it naturally if you're lucky, but also build this environment through networking, through going and asking people. Again, as Mandy said, scientists are like happy to talk to people, and they spend so much time focusing on their research. They really sometimes need to talk to people about what they're doing and things like that. And this is so helpful, like when you are in a university environment, and sometimes they have also outreach. I see with what universities around my area do, like they have outreach, they go to school, they explain like what the scientists are doing. The community college also have outreach to explain like what careers are possible and things like that, and they bring like people who did that. So it is very important. These events are not like useless. They are like, they give you a window on like what it is to do this and this, and they put you in the whoever is talking shoes. So I think it's very important to kind of take advantage of that and inform yourself with these possibilities and dare.
Well, on that note, thank you all for joining us, and we hope that this has illuminated some of the black box of being a woman in STEAM. So thank you for your questions, chat, and for Bob for letting us do this.
Thank you.
Well, you just played. You didn't get to participate. Okay.
No. For supporting, then. Thank you for supporting us.
There you go.
They were mainly positive, right? They were mainly positive, don't you think, Bob? Our experience.
You're not silent to us.
Chat, can you hear me now?
Good.
These are just technical problems that, okay, now you hear me? I turned it off and back on again. Anyway, chat, what I said didn't really matter. Yeah, so should we go ahead and wrap up the stream? And,
we should do our raid dance. And if you need to leave, Amen, that's totally cool.
Yeah, I am going to raid my channel over to the Real Good channel. But then we have another raid we're going to do. Because the Real Good Regiment is... Are they streaming? Are they live?
I'm not sure. I've been here. Chat, if you don't know yet, we have merch you can buy that's really pretty, that says Real Good, or whatever some of them say other things, but if you buy something from our store, it helps support our objectives and mission here at Real Good AI to do good research in AI, fix a lot of the problems that we have going on with it, do some outreach and education on AI that is current, and things like the Real program, the Real rating of rating how much AI is in whatever you're looking at, whatever product it is, including social media, including writings, and it helps for things like setting rules for classrooms and things like that. Additionally, we have the scary tapes going on right now. It's like the writing phase. I'm getting tons of questions into the contact email. People are very excited. So the idea, again, is to do speculative horror with more accurate representations of AI in writing, and this will turn into, if you are one of the winners, a podcast episode that Mark, Bob, and Wade will participate in, which will be very exciting. Lots of people will hear it, hopefully. So anything else we need to advertise that I'm not talking about?
Just generally check out the website. There's a newsletter, there's volunteer groups, there's plenty of interesting stuff. And there's constantly more being added or improved or switched around. So yeah, go do the stuff. I did the raid to the Real Good channel. Make sure you're following the Real Good channel on Twitch or on YouTube or on TikTok or on Instagram. We don't stream on Instagram, but we do post on Instagram, and it's usually Mandy. So if you like Mandy, go watch that stuff. And it looks like the Real Good Regiment is now live. Keith, is that on your channel? What would be the best channel to raid for that? It's Keith, right?
I think so.
We're going to send a raid over to the Keith. Here it is. Yes, Keith Clan live now. We're going to send a raid. The Real Good Regiment is some volunteers who have been helping with the organization, but also play Helldivers too. And I don't know. Is the role playing happening? It's kind of it's soft role play. It's light. You'll see. Anyway, join the raid. We are out of here. Thank you so much for watching today, chat, and we'll see you next Thursday for another Real Good stream.
Where we'll have an interview with a scientific guest. So.
Yes, that's correct. So come back. Bye, chat.
Bye. Thanks for coming.